Holy shit, guys. Super did it. Super finally made a really good arc. Not just a great arc. And that arc is the 9 Weeks of Peace arc. Yeah, it's that good. Now you're probably looking at the screen like, what the fuck is the 9 Weeks of Peace arc? There was the Future Trunks arc, and we have the Universe of... what the fuck? The 9 Weeks of Peace arc is what I refer to as the 9 episodes of filler that takes place between the Future Trunks arc and the Universal Survival arc. It was just some bullshit that I made up just to label that chunk of episodes. And to some people who may be going, well, that doesn't count as an arc. You shut the fuck up, alright? You shut your goddamn whore mouth. Because I am saying nice things about Super right now. You want me to take that away? I'll stop right now. Don't you fucking try me. So yes, the 9 Weeks of Peace arc. The best arc of Dragon Ball Super. And holy crap, I was not expecting that to be the case. Dragon Ball Super has had really good slice-of-life moments and slice-of-life episodes. But just having a string of just 9 slice-of-life episodes, a couple of two-parters, which is something that Dragon Ball has never really done before, and just, it was great. It was fantastic. I really feel that this needs to be talked about, like just given its own video and praised as its own thing. Because yeah, some people might praise the individual episodes, and everyone's all hyped up about the Universal Survival arc, and they're like, oh yeah man, Universal Survival arc, that's gonna be the shit. I'm like, it'll probably be shit alright. So instead of crossing my fingers and making a bunch of clickbaity videos about an arc that will hopefully be good, but I'm not gonna hold my breath for, I'd rather just praise something that has already happened and was good. Not just good, genuinely fucking great. Now this arc begins with admittedly a very weak start, and it's one that I really felt was going to kind of be indicative of the rest of these episodes. But, you know, it really does, you know, rise above this first episode. Because this first episode is just complete disposable fluff. It's Kaio, Goku says he's gonna wish him back to life, and now everyone wants to make a wish on Dragon Balls all at once, and hijinks ensue, and it's kind of just the most cookie-cutter formula thing, and it's just, you know, and it's a whole issue with Kaio that was never really an issue until Super decided to make it one, and now it's just kind of this running gag that they got, and yeah, it's completely disposable. I didn't particularly find it funny at all. There's no particularly good character moments outside of a scene with 18 wanting to do something for Kuririn because Kuririn's such a great husband and father. She wants to do something for him for a change. Like, that's genuinely sweet and heartfelt. And there's a nice scene with Gohan using the Dragon Balls to cure Pan, who is ill. Like, that was, you know, also very sweet and nice. But for the most part, though, pretty disposable, not particularly interesting, but at very least it's completely inoffensive. It's, you know, unlike other parts of Super where, you know, like it's just a bad episode, there's just something wrong with it, it's just kind of garbage. This was just completely inoffensive fluff that did nothing to piss me off, but it didn't do anything to excite me, so it just kind of exists. It is air. It's there. So yeah, not a promising start to this arc, and then it does a complete 180 when we get the return of Arale and, you know, Senbei Norimaki, and we have all these Dr. Slump references, and it is amazing. It is just this huge send-up to Dr. Slump, and it is fantastic. As someone who barely knows anything about Dr. Slump, I know enough. Even I was able to appreciate all the little references that they made, and they do explain the references well enough, even if you've never seen it, like, you know, like, oh, like, you're supposed to, like, you know, when Dr. Morishita shows up, and Senbei's like, wait a second, no, you totally died in the manga, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm a ghost, and it was fantastic. It's just full of so many great references. It's full of just so many great humorous moments, especially like with Vegeta trying to fight Arale, and he can't because she's a gag character and she's just infinitely more powerful than he is. And yeah, it's pretty awesome from beginning to end. It's easily the funniest episode in all of Dragon Ball. I feel like the only people who are going to dislike this episode are people who get like really pissy and obsessed over like power levels and power scaling, and it's like, oh, they made my cool badass character look like a fucking pussy. Grow the fuck up, guys. It's a cartoon. You're a bunch of grown-ass men whining about your fucking muscly dude bro character, who isn't even actually a dude bro in the Japanese version, not being cool enough for you. Fuck off. And then we go from the Dr. Slump send-up episode to a Yamcha send-up episode where Champa wants to do a baseball game against, Universe 6 versus Universe 7. And this one fucking episode is probably better than the entirety of the whole fucking Universe 6 and 7 tournament. Had about as much character development, had about as many good character moments, and was about as enjoyable and without all the shitty parts of the Universe 6 arc. Like, this episode, well, first off, Yamcha's amazing. It gets very meta with it, because it's, just how, their treatment of Yamcha, especially at the end, and it is just, once again, it is just another great slice of life episode. It's another amazingly funny episode, and just the humor lands. One gag after the other just lands repeatedly, and it's so good. And it's not just the poking fun of Yamcha stuff is funny. They do kind of treat Yamcha as a bit of a legitimate character. Also, just the scenes between Goku and Vegeta, and Goku powering up and Vegeta powering up, and then poof, yeah, that was great stuff. It's just full of so many really humorous moments, and just like I said, it was another phenomenal laugh out loud episode, and one that I loved from beginning to end. And that ends the little standalone episodes where it's just a singular episode telling a slice of life story, and then we start getting into the two-parters, and what a lot of people expected to be kind of this weird assassination arc, oh man, we're gonna get a hit arc and stuff. And I was it's probably gonna be a filler thing, probably 3 to 4 episodes. And instead, we got 2 episodes. And at first I was thinking, I'm well, the whole concept of Hit coming back is the whole assassination thing, I felt wouldn't really make sense. Why would someone from Universe 6 want to kill Goku? How would he be able to transfer over from Universe 6 to Universe 7? There's a lot of questions to ask there. And they did it in the smartest way possible by having Goku be the one that hired Hit. That's the big reveal, and it's a reveal that works really, really well, because it's the only way that was ever going to make sense. The only 2 ways it was going to make sense was if Champa was the one that decided to hire Hit himself, had Vados, spoke to Vados, had Vados hire Hit, and then, got him over to Universe 7. That would have been, the only other way for this to make sense. And then in that case, you make Champa come off way more malicious and way more of an asshole than, the show really portrays him as. And I don't think that would have sat well, at least with me and probably a lot of other people, if it had been Champa to be the one to do it. And, I guess you could have, built some arc off of that. But at the same time, though, Champa was the only other option. It was either going to be Goku or Champa. And, honestly, I was honestly expecting some bullshit, stupid answer that was going to be fucking terrible and completely take me out of it. And be that doesn't make any fucking sense. Way to drop the ball, Super. But no, it goes the complete other direction. It doesn't do Champa, and it has it be fucking Goku. And that was something I didn't expect to be the case, especially when it was, though it makes sense it only being 2 episodes, because if it were any longer than 2 episodes, stretching that concept out any longer just would have made it distended and boring. And also, this is very much a slice of life thing for the most part. The entire first episode is pretty much slice of life, Goku being extra paranoid. Everyone's kind of worried about him. Chi-Chi's Goku, you're not eating, what's wrong, blah blah blah. She's really concerned about him. Goten and Trunks Gohan and Goten are following Goku around, and they're in disguise. And we got some great little personality moments from Goten. That was great, and it was it has its issues. It really does. I've already gone over this in my full episode review, but there are problems in this. Specifically, just like how it explains the Tokidobashi, and like, or how the Tokidobashi gets explained doesn't really gel with what we saw previously. But I do like the exploration of the ability, how it works, and it still doesn't help justify the Universe 6 arc thing not making sense. But here, like, it was cool. The big issue I honestly had with it was the way it ends, like how Goku defeats Hit, is not really explained. It just kind of like powers up, and I guess it kind of like knocks Hit out of that extra dimension that he's in. And if that's the case, it wasn't conveyed very well. It's just like Goku powers up, and they're both just on the ground, completely fucked up, and it's just, oh, that's okay. Little anticlimactic. I kind of wish they would have at very least explained that a bit better, that like Goku was able to just power through his dimension. Just something other than Goku powers up and then they just don't fucking explain it. Because, I mean, that is the big issue with Super, is that it never wants to explain. Like, it's like, here's this cool thing we just showed you. Cool! What did that mean? And you're like, and Super just kind of looks back at you. It looked cool though, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. So yeah, that notwithstanding, the little Hit filler bit that we had was awesome. I dug it. Like I said, it ends kind of weak, but it's still overall fairly strong little two-parter. Then we get to the outright best part of this entire string of episodes. The Great Saiyaman versus Mr. Satan movie is coming out, and Goku ends up being hired as a stunt guy for it, because the actual stunt guy was like, man, fuck this movie, I'm out, and Gohan happened to be there, so they had the actual Great Saiyaman there, and this went in a completely different direction than I thought, because I really felt like, oh, they're rehashing the movie thing from that was in Dragon Ball Z. That's kind of weird. They're going to rehash this. Where that was just a very small segment in a bigger episode. It was just like, you know, I think that was like half an episode's worth of content for that particular thing for Dragon Ball Z. Here, it's a full 2-episode deal, and there's like an actual story going on here, and it's so good. Holy shit. These 2 episodes, like, this is like the best storyline in all of fucking Dragon Ball Super. Fuck the Battle of Gods arc, or, you know, fuck, you know, Resurrection F, fuck Universe 6, fuck Future Trunks, super fuck the Botafu arc. No, this was awesome. First off, this is a much smaller in scale episode. Like, it's not some big action set piece thing, though there is action going on and there is a bad guy, but it is a smaller story, pretty much just about Gohan, and we get this guy who's basically just trying to fuck Videl. This big movie star. Videl isn't having any of that shit. She doesn't fucking care. She's not really impressed by him, and this guy goes out of his way to make Gohan look bad. And in one of the best fucking moments, like, this guy shows up at Gohan's house, because, you know, he had set Gohan up so this girl would kiss him, this lead actress would kiss him, and he would get pictures of it and show it to Videl and completely ruin Gohan and fucking ruin his marriage. And, like, that happens, but when he gets home, you know, and Gohan obviously is not, you know, down for the whole some girl kissing him thing, but like, he gets home, and this asshole Barry is at his house with his wife, with these fucking pictures, you know, shown, you know, it's like, oh yeah, ha 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 ha, I know, like, look at this, your husband was, like, cheating on you, and she's just like, no, he wasn't. What do you mean? No, I have photographs right here. It's like, no, Gohan wouldn't do that. They could have gone very easily into the cliched route of she believes this fucking asshole and doesn't trust her husband, and they could have just made this the most cliche garbage fucking story ever, and instead they go a completely different route. They have Videl just, no, she has faith in her husband. She knows Gohan, and that's what makes Videl such a great character, because she understands Gohan. She isn't some sort of jealous housewife, and like, that whole sequence is great. And man, Gohan was a badass. Like, Gohan just, Because, like, this guy is, like, threatening to, like, oh, I'll reveal your identity as Great Saiyaman and all this other shit. And Gohan and just, like, slams him against the wall. Get out of my house. Like, just... Dude! Like, because... everyone keeps fucking complaining that, like, oh, characters aren't given the right treatment and aren't being badass enough. Like, I feel people mistaken, like, being a badass for taking on or fighting the biggest, baddest dude of a storyline. And I know, like, Gohan came off as such a fucking alpha badass in that episode against a complete fucking normie. A normal fucking human who he easily could have raffle stomped with his goddamn pinky. But because of how he's portraying himself, that stern voice, that stare, that, that get the fuck out of my house attitude that he gave Barry was awesome. And then they just fucking go full Venom symbiote, where this fucking alien attaches itself to Barry, feeds off, like, his anger and hatred and shit for Gohan, and turns into this big fucking monster. And then we get the Super Great Saiyaman, which is, oh my god, I never knew how much I needed something like that. Apparently it's also been in the video games. I guess I've never played as the Great Saiyaman in any of the newer games, because I've never seen that before, but like, when I saw that, I was just like, yes. I think, like what he calls, like, his attack the Great Saiyaman Beam or whatever, that was, yeah, it was awesome. Gohan was awesome. Videl was awesome. Even Jocko, because Jocko shows up in this, and that's where the whole symbiote alien thing, I think Wadagash was his name, and, like, where he came from was because of Jocko. And, like, Jocko was in it, he was cool. Everything, like, and it also had a lot of humor, had great character moments. This was just 2 amazing episodes. This is, like, easily the highlight of this arc of episodes, because, like, some episodes, like, like the standalone episodes were fine on their own right. The hit episodes starts really strong, ends a little weak, still really good overall. This was just a perfect first episode and a perfect second episode, and it was fantastic. And then we get to the last 2-parter, how Kuririn got his groove back, where he's kind of going through, like, this bit of, like, a midlife crisis-y thing where, he feels kind of like a weak puss, and, he's taking bullets and bleeding, and even his wife is making fun of him. And he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna go train. Like, so he goes to the Muten Roshi to train. Goku goes with him, and the Muten Roshi sends him on this island, and it's like, or he sends him to, like, this forest. He sends him to, like, this cave in this forest, and this is like the force of PTSD is what this fucking shit is. Because every traumatizing thing that Kuririn has ever encountered has come back to haunt him. Friggin', Piccolo Daima was there, Tambourine, the first person to ever kill him, what was it, the Saiyans were there, like Nappa and Vegeta, Frieza, obviously, is a big one for him. Majin Buu, and, like, they make a point to flash back and show, like, all the times Kuririn had been killed, and it's just like, and why this shit's weighing on him and freaking him out the way it does. And, like, the entire thing is about him getting his confidence back to be a fighter, pull himself out of retirement. And Gabby, Mozilla Vulpix, made a statement in her review about how it didn't really feel like it was needed for Kuririn to have that moment. Like, he really didn't need to have, like, his comeback episode. Like, I mean, and I disagree only because we've had kind of 2 different scenes with Kuririn that makes, like, one that actually is justified by this whole thing. First off, Kuririn during the Battle of 1,000 Fighters, he, like, has this total, like, let's get this huge PTSD breakdown. He freaks out. He can't fight. He's terrified. And because, it's like, this is Frieza. It's the guy who killed him. And it's like he's being swarmed by all these dudes. And it conveyed that even though, like, he was jumping back into the fray, that he wasn't mentally there. Like, he wasn't a fighter in his head anymore. And then you have, like, a few episodes later, I think, like, after that arc had happened, where he tells Goku to punch him in the face. he's just like, hit me. Just deck me right in the face. And Goku, and it's basically like his midlife crisis moment where Goku decks him in the face, and he just doesn't feel like a fighter anymore. So I think like those two scenes really just kind of established that he isn't what he used to be, and he doesn't really view himself in that same way anymore. And so like him coming back and like, yeah, I'm gonna be a fighter, I got this, and having this big kind of revelation and kind of coming to terms with like, yeah, I'm going to be a fighter again, and like confronting his fears and really getting himself in that right mental space. Yeah, I thought it was a really strong episode. Like the first episode was and the second episode was also kind of but together like they ended up like that 2-episode run ends up being pretty damn strong. And yeah, that ends the 9 weeks of Peace arc. And like I said, it is a 9-episode streak of great fucking episodes. And, well, I mean, like I said, first episode isn't that great, but this is honestly, never before have I just outright loved 8 episodes in a row of Dragon Ball Super. That shit has never fucking happened. I'm hoping maybe that's a trend. Maybe that's where the show's going to be going. And the writers really got a better handle on these characters, and they're really paying more attention. Maybe that is the future of the show. If so, I'm really looking forward to more. If not, if this was a one-off, I'm at least glad that I got this run of episodes. Like I said, I'm glad I got the 9 weeks of Peace arc, so I could be like, yeah, there's something in Dragon Ball Super that I like for a change. Woo! But yeah, like I said, this arc was fantastic. Whether you want to call it an arc or not, fuck off. I don't care. I'm calling it an arc. But yeah, I loved this run of episodes. Even like, that weak little fluff episode in the beginning does not damper the rest of this fucking viewing experience. Because like I said, it was a completely harmless fluff episode, and then I got 8 really good episodes right after that that I loved across the board. Were they perfect? No, but nothing is fucking perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect except for those 2 Gohan episodes. Those 2 Gohan episodes are fucking perfect. And really, I feel like this string of episodes proves that Toei's writing staff, at least the ones that they have working on Super, they are not suited for long format storytelling. I feel like they'd be much better suited for just doing these kind of slice of life episodes, and it really makes me wish that Super had been a slice of life series where a couple of 2-parters, maybe a 3-parter, maybe a 5-parter, they just see small scale episodes. Maybe fight like a random enemy, focusing on different characters, giving spotlights to different characters. And I think that would have ended up probably being a better show overall. Would it have been as a successful one? Probably not, because people need their fighting and their big fucking storylines for it to be a Dragon Ball show. Even though Dragon Ball Super has only had one relatively long storyline, and honestly, it's kind of a clusterfuck, and then all the other storylines really barely even had stories to them. It's God of Destruction shows up, God of Destruction fights Goku, God of Destruction beats Goku, Frieza's resurrected, Frieza fights Goku, Goku kills Frieza. Those are your stories. There's a tournament, Universe 7 wins the tournament. Nothing else really happens. I mean, these are barely fucking stories anyhow. So, but I mean, some people are saying Super's the best friggin' show of the entire franchise. No helping those people, honestly. Like I said, I think it would probably be better as a slice of life series. I'm sure people would disagree with me because they want storylines and they probably wouldn't be invested. They didn't have storylines, even though the storylines we are getting aren't even fucking good. But whatever. Here's at least hoping that the Universe Survival arc is at least decent. Please be decent. I need at least one decent, real arc in this show. I know I bitched about Girl Broly. It's okay. As long as everything else is good, I can live with Girl Broly. Just, please, make a pretty good arc. I'm begging you. Till next time, guys. Zeon, out.